Hey, welcome in everyone. Dave Celentano with Guitar Tricks. Good to see some folks here. Hello, Steve. How you doing? Hey, Steve, real quick. I posted 5 Guitar Tricks links to some lessons in Guitar Tricks that are very similar to the stuff we're working on last week and today. Do you see it up there in the comments right above your comment? Let me know if you're seeing that. Hey, Richard, how you doing? Sounds good. Good. So today we're working on week 2 of 2 for pick techniques. Hello, Dennis. And we're going to be covering the rest of the examples. We kind of focused on example 1 and 2. And then I also last week. Thank you, Steve. Awesome. I also gave everyone last week a tremolo picking exercise, which is actually not in the curriculum, but it was real easy. It was just doing Malagueña's melody on the first string. But we were picking every note 4 times. Some of those Guitar Tricks exercise lesson links that I posted there are going over very similar stuff, working on tremolo picking and working on sequences on one string. I'm also going to throw out one more thing to everybody too that you can do on one string that's kind of neat. It's not in our curriculum, but I'm going to talk about it now because the instructor in Guitar Tricks who does those 5 links I posted, his name's Christopher Schlegel. He's a great guy. He's a great player. He's got some really good lessons on Guitar Tricks, and it ties in with what we're doing. So I thought it was kind of cool to hook those links up right there. Hey, David's here. All right. Cool. Alex. All right. Nice to see you. And then King 50, a.k.a. Bill, checking in from Nevada, Northern Nevada. Cool. And Craig. All right. I noticed some familiar faces there from my one-on-one lessons. And then some of the usual suspects that also show up in the YouTube stuff. So you got to be a Guitar Tricks member to access those 5 links that I posted. And if you are, they're easy. Just sign in log in with your account and your password, and you'll be able to get those exercises. They're really cool, and it's similar to what we're doing in this. So I thought it's good to have those in there. If you're not a Guitar Tricks member, you should look into signing up with them. They've got money back guarantee. I don't know if it's 30 days or 60 or what, but I know they got some type of money back guarantee. So you might want to just check them out. And obviously, if you pay for a year subscription, it's the better deal rather than going month by month. And I think right now they're offering $99 for a year. Plus you get a bunch of bonus gifts in that package deal they got. But anyway, that's for right now, as of today. But if anyone's watching this video on YouTube after today, which is December 20th of 23, those promotions I just mentioned might not be the same. All right. So this is only for everyone who's watching it live. Okay. So let's get on. Last week we did the tremolo on one string, going 4 notes on every note of Malagueña. Just getting the hang of alternate picking. See how my right hand just goes back and forth. Okay, and you want to make it even. You don't want to make it sound sloppy and like bees buzzing around. With missed notes, not good. Take your time. Do it with the metronome like we talked about last week. Now, what I'm going to point out here, tied into what some of those Guitar Tricks lessons are that I posted, is something that's different than in a curriculum I've got. We're going to start working with picking fast on 2 strings and more, 2, 3, and 4 strings today. I'm going to show you some good exercises and some technique things with how to hold your pick so you can get across those other strings. Because I see a lot of guitar players can stay on one string and pick real fast. But the trick is to be able to maintain that speed and that accuracy on one string that you do on one string while you're crossing all the other strings, okay? It's a little tricky, and I'm going to show you some things you can do to work on that, even that out. But check this out. This is another good exercise that if you've been playing, running through your scales, your natural minors, like A minor, for instance, more than just doing the scale up and down, we should do sequences in the scale, like sequences of threes, triplets, right? Where we go up 3 notes in a row and then back to the previous note and start there and go up 3 notes. 1, 2, 3, back 1, back 1, back 1. Okay, another good sequence is fours. You go up 4 notes and back to the 2 notes, back to the 2 notes back, or in other words, the second note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then start on the second note of the scale and do 4 notes consecutive. Then the third note of the scale, 4 notes consecutive. Okay, if that's a little mind-numbing and you don't quite understand it, we got exercises on Guitar Tricks for that stuff. But it's a good one to know and to practice. I have my students, I got tabs in my curriculum for one-on-one lessons that I give my students for that. That kind of thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. But what I want to get at with that doing fours is let's do that with the same scale, A minor, on just the high E string. All right, or there's a few ways you can do fours. And another way that I like to do it, instead of literally going up 4 notes, I'll start like on the 8th fret first string and go 8 to 5 to 7 to 8. So it's only 3 notes, 3 different pitches, but it's a 4-note sequence. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I move my pinky up to the next note in the scale, 10th fret, and I do the same sequential idea with frets 10, 7, 8, 10. Then up to the 12th fret, do it with 12, 8, 10, 12. 13 would go 13, 10, 12, 13. Okay, so you got and then backwards. Like this. Okay, so going, I'll show you the descending. I'll call out the frets. If any of you want to write this down, I know a couple of the students do this because when I give this little bonus stuff, some of you, in fact, one of my students, I think it was Bill, I was going over our hammer-on pull-off exercises a few weeks back, and I played part of one of Randy Rhodes' live solos that he would do this really cool pull-off exercise. And I believe Bill took the time and probably rewatched the video afterwards, the lesson, and then wrote down all the frets I called out and then tabbed it out. Very cool, Bill. That was awesome. So right here, this one, we're just going to go 8, 5, 7, 8. Next one is 10, 7, 8, 10. Then 12, 8, 10, 12. And all the while, we're alternate picking people. Down, up on every one I call out. Next one is 13, 10, 12, 13. Then 15, 12, 13, 15. 17, 13, 15, 17. Almost done. 19, 15, 17, 19. And then the last note, you can end on the C at the 20th fret. We're playing the A minor scale, aka the C major scale. A minor and C major are relative to each other. The A minor scale has the exact same notes as the C major scale. Okay, so we got the last part goes. Here, how it kind of resolves nicely on that C at the 20th fret. Hey, Vinny, appreciate it, man. I see you there. All right, cool. Hey, happy holidays to you, Vinny, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and everything else, everyone else of other different faiths and beliefs. Happy holidays to you. Happy New Year's coming up. Vinny, I appreciate it, man. Thanks. Vinny is an amazing guitar player over in Virginia on the East Coast, and got to jam with him at the NAMM show a few years back and hang out with him a little bit. But he's a dynamite player. If you guys look him up on YouTube, I don't think you'd be disappointed. A bang's here. All right. A bang. Cool. Cool. Yep. It's late November of 23. Yes. I mean, of late December. I can't read tonight. Sorry about that. And Ollie's here. All right. Another one of my students. Cool. Cool. All right. I'm just reading these comments because I get talking. Zane. Hey, Dave. Just got back from kicking around Portugal for a couple weeks. Looking. All right. Cool. Cool, Zane. Yep. You can catch up on the Guitar Tricks YouTube channel for the rest of these. Jeffrey. All right. I like your. Looks like Easter Island, one of those heads on Easter Island as one of your emojis there. Cool. I haven't seen that one before, but I like all that esoteric, kind of that mystery, ancient civilizations, including what's going on Easter Island there. Pretty cool. All right. Let me go down the comments down there. Dave Carlton saying, hey, when Eddie Van Halen picked fast up one string, he seemed to pull his arm away from being parallel to the guitar and arch his wrist a bit. In retrospective, do you find his technique unusual? Anybody else do it that way? You know what, David? I've seen some guitarists do it like Eddie. He goes like into a butterfly thing. That's just something that he developed on his own. I always tell my students, you can try to reinvent the wheel and do things your own way, but chances are most of us are going to hit a brick wall and get, finger tied and stuck, and as to why we can't get better and why we hit a kind of a brick wall in our playing and our technique. Maybe 1 out of 1,000 players like Edward and, a few others can develop their own thing and get off real good with it. But most of us, we just kind of learn what the pros have done. And you look at Michael Badio, he's an excellent guitar player as well. And he's got this thing where he always anchors his pinky or ring when he picks, and he kind of does that so it keeps his pick in the same exact plane across the strings when he picks. All right. That picking technique he uses works great for him. He's a freaking awesome guitar player. He's a dynamite player, but it doesn't work for me. I've, got my own little way I do it, which is my own. And what I'm going to share with everyone about the pick angles is, kind of not my own invention, but a lot of players do what I'm going to show you about. And I talked about it last week too, Dave. So yeah, I don't know too many other players that do Ed's pick technique when he goes into the tremolo, but the important thing is not what it looks like, people, but how it sounds. And when you're picking one string, you don't need to worry about angling your pick for pick escapes, because we're not going to another string. When Eddie would do that little violin lick, it's actually just a little violin exercise by a German violinist named Kreutzer. And I love playing classical music, and I would buy these violin books and piano books and then go through them and just play through some of the exercises and the tunes. And some of them sound really awesome to do on guitar. Well, in my research, one of the etudes, one of the exercises in Kreutzer's violin studies was that, except he did it in the key of C. Okay. Now, Kreutzer didn't tremolo him on the violin, but Edward, you recognize that from Eruption. Whatever he does on that. But that's just a little violin exercise. For me, though, David, I just like to anchor my hand and palm on the guitar when I'm picking, and I get my support that way. That's a good thing you brought up. Good point you brought up, David. Cool, cool. And then Blank Man saying, hey, Dave, how are you, bud? I'm doing great, Blank Man. Appreciate it. And then Vinny, all right, buddy. And then Blank Man saying, actually, I'm uploading my first video of me doing an improv of blues without backing track. Trying something new using an A minor extended scale. Tried throwing in legatos I learned recently. Cool, Black Man. All right. Well, yeah, post it up on YouTube. And if you send me a link to it, and I'll check it out, make a comment. Yeah, cool, Blank Man. All right. Good to hear from you, man. All right, so that exercise I was talking to everyone about on one string, and then we're going to get into my curriculum right there. I just called out all the frets, ascending the fretboard, and then descending in sequences of fours. And I'm giving you this because this is very similar to one of those guitar tricks lessons I posted at the top of the comments. There's 5 links there. One of them, the instructor Christopher, is doing sequences of fours on one string. All right. I'm pretty sure he is. I didn't check him. I just kind of looked at the front of each video just to see what it was encompassing. And then I looked at the tabs that are included. So the descending version, I would do. Let me wrap my head around this again. There we go. That's the lick. All right, I had to get my head back on track there, folks. Okay, so what we're going to do is start up in the high position, 17th fret. We're going to go 17, 20, 19, 17. And every set of 4 is down, up, down, up. Then we shift back the first finger to the 15th fret and go 15, 19, 17, 15. Shift back to the 13th fret, go 13, 17, 15, 13. 13, 17, 15, 13. Then back to 12, go 12, 15, 13, 12. 10, 13, 10, 13, 12, 10. Shift back to 8 and go 8, 12, 10, 8. Shift back to 7th fret, go 7, 10, 8, 7. And then resolve on the A. And then try to make tiny downstrokes with your pick, because you can't pick fast if you do big strokes. Okay, when I pick faster, I got to tighten everything up and do tiny downs and ups. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, and it's not super fast, but it's not that slow either. Okay, and just kind of work it with a metronome and take your time. Okay, Vinny, you're very welcome. All right, cool. All right, let's go with All right, so let's jump into my curriculum, everybody. Number 3, example 3. Well, let me just review example 1 and 2. For those who weren't here last week, I'm not going to spend much time on it. Example 1 and 2 are actually the same exercise on the left hand. They're both going like this. Okay, but the difference is the picking. If you look at the picking on the first example, it starts with a downstroke in alternate picks. Okay, and that's just a common lick. We hear Yngwie Malmsteen, Michael Badio does that a lot. Yngwie Malmsteen, Paul Gilbert does that a lot. But where I first heard it, or actually where I didn't first hear it, when I first heard it was with Paul Gilbert and Michelangelo Badio and Yngwie Malmsteen. But in my studies and learning and transcribing tons of songs, I was transcribing Al Di Meola, Race with the Devil on a Spanish Highway. If you've ever heard that one from him. Al Di Meola is another amazing kind of a fusion jazz rock player. But he was doing that lick back in the 70s, way before Yngwie and Paul and Michelangelo Badio were doing it. Okay? So that lick is a good exercise to practice inside and outside picking. Inside picking is when your pick is toggling back and forth. When you're going from one string to the next, you're in between the strings. So notice how when you pick that string, the third is a down. And then when I go to the fourth string, I'm going up. So you feel that little motion of your pick going between the strings. And when I play the last note of the 6-note sequence, it's an up. then down on the third, and back to an up. So I'm toggling between those 4 and 3 strings on the inside of the strings. Okay, example 2, it's the exact same lick, but it starts with an upstroke and then down on the 4th string. Ends with a down on the 4th, and then we got to jump over to the 3rd. Now what I'm doing is going on the outside of string 4 and 3. So I go, see the upstroke on the 3rd is on the outside of strings 3 and 4. Then 4 ends with a down. So you got to kind of keep rotating your wrist when you toggle it back and forth like that, okay? See, if I leave my pick at this angle when I end it, watch. If I leave it like that, I'm stuck in between the strings. What I have to do when I finish that 4th string, I have to end it with a downstroke, but flick my pick above the plane of the strings so I can hop over. That way you won't trip over the string. You will not be able to play fast if you keep your pick angled the same way on this particular lick. Okay, that one, usually guitar players will find the inside or the outside, one of the two, easier to do for that lick. For me, by far, the inside picking is way easier to do fast, just because of the muscles in my hand that I developed over the years and the particular licks that I've been working on doing that. So when I do inside picking on that particular lick, I can let it go pretty quick. But see, I still have to flick my hand to get above the strings. See, when I do the down, I can't stay like that. I have to flick it above the strings. If I go like this, my pick's stuck inside the strings, the plane of the strings. So if I look down in the guitar plane of the strings, you can see the pick sticking out on the bottom. But I don't want to do that. I want to end that G string. I want to flick it with a downstroke and go above the strings. So that's why I got to flick it like this. See, my pick is above the strings. That when I go to the 4th string, I don't have to hop over the 3rd string. I can just swing the bat or the pick freely over to the 4th string. And then when I hit that last upstroke, I can't stay like that because I'm stuck in the strings again. If I would have to pull it out, hop over the 4th string to get to the 3rd. That pulling it out and hopping over slows us down, and it has potential for creating slop. And you accidentally might hit that string or trip over it with your pick. Then you get a mistake. You get a glitchy sound. Okay, so you got to work with flicking the pick angle a little bit. See, when I hit that last upstroke, I rotate my wrist a little bit so I can swing the pick down. Okay, that's easier for me to do than the outside picking on that particular lick. Now, some of the other licks we're going to be getting into on example 3 and 4 here do use outside picking, but because of the pick angle slant, it's actually easier for me to do some of these other licks with the outside picking. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Now, guitars like John McLaughlin, another fusion jazz player, he tends to escape the strings on his downstrokes, and with the pick always angled in this way. So I don't have to ever rotate my wrist because I'm not going to need to change direction of the angle of the pick. When I start like this, when I do my downstroke on this lick it's not in our curriculum, but when I do this, watch how my pick is always angled downwards like that. See, when I go down, I'm above the strings, and I always start the next string for this picking that I do with an upstroke. and it ends with a down, then I can hop to the next string, do the same, hop to the next string. Okay, George Benson does that same picking, except he doesn't angle it downwards, he angles it upwards, and everything's in opposite. Now, his downstrokes are in the strings, his upstrokes are always above the plane of the string. So when George Benson plays a lick, he orchestrates the notes and the picking so that the last pick stroke when he's on a string going to another string, the last pick stroke on one string is always an upstroke because then he's above the strings. And then he starts the next one with a down, whether you're going to the lower strings or the higher strings. It's easier to hop over when you don't have to pull your pick and hop over a string. When you're already above the plane of the strings, you can just go right to it. Now let's examine that with example 3, the first bar of example 3. In fact, example 3 follows this chord change: A minor, G major, F major, and then E7. It's a very common rock rhythm. Spanish guitar players use this a lot. Surf guitar music uses it a lot. It's very, very popular. Okay, so each bar that I'm playing in example 3, it kind of follows the first bar is A minor, then the G, F, E. Okay, we're going to try some. I'm going to turn off the tube screamer so we get a cleaner sound. Because people, we shouldn't rely on distortion, overdrive to make you sound better. Because really, if you don't have good pick technique, the overdrive is not going to make you sound better. It's actually going to sound messy. Okay, so if you can clean up. See, I got just a little bit of amp distortion on, but not a tube screamer, no overdrive. Okay. Okay. With that type of picking, that's the example 3. I just kind of play a little extra at the end. But the first bar, let's examine the picking, okay? And granted, and I got students that are going to say this, and they do this, they pick it. Okay, see what I do with my right hand is I went down, up, down. The second string ends with a down, and then they just continue the down motion into the next string. That's called economy picking. That's a whole other thing, people. The first thing, if you can't alternate pick and have your alternate picking together, don't think you can skip that and then start working on sweep picking and you're going to get sweep picking down. The most common picking in all guitar playing, whether you're doing country, blues, rock, jazz, metal, is alternate picking. The economy picking and the sweep picking, that would come later. Hybrid picking, that comes after. Alternate picking is like walking, people. If you can't walk, if someone can't walk, do you expect them to be able to run or move around quickly? Probably not. All right. So we really need to get the hang of this alternate picking. This is by far the most beneficial thing to learning guitar, is just getting your alternate picking down. And I see some beginning guitar players tell me they're working on sweep picking. And then when I hear them play, they can hardly even alternate pick. So it's like you're trying to run, it's like a baby learning to run before they can walk. It's, probably not going to happen. Okay, so you really got to get the hang of the alternate picking. So don't do this down, up, down, up, down. Okay, even though you think it's easier to cross the strings, we really got to get the hang of escaping the strings, all right, and getting the speed up. So you want to angle your pick like this. When I go down, up, down, I make sure my downstroke is above the strings, because if I do it like this, see, my pick is still stuck between the B and the E string. So I'd have to pull it out, go over the E, and then grab that with an up. Okay? But if you angle it and get used to the hop over the string, okay, that's the trick with getting this down. Let me take a back step for a sec. Let's just take a 4-note little sequence on strings 4 and 3. All right, it's just going like this. Or how about, okay, let's do 7-5, 7-5 on string 3 and 4. Okay, now watch my pick. If I do that with a downstroke, with a down angle, see, my pick's stuck in the string, so I have to pull it out over and go to the next string. And then I'm still stuck in the strings. So for that picking, it'd be better to go, or for that lick, it'd be better to angle my pick in this manner. See my right hand? I want you to watch my right hand, not the left hand. We're guilty, people, of watching too much of the left hand on guitar players. The right hand is just as important, okay? So you got to pay attention to what the right hand's doing. Now, with that lick, watch my right hand. When I go down, I'm stuck in the strings, but that's okay because I'm not leaving the string yet. I'm going to do another up on the 5th fret, and then now my pick's above the strings. I go to the next string easier. And then the same with that. I go down, up, I'm above the strings. See how that works? Okay, but I kind of prefer, for me personally, that's how George Benson does it, and that's how a lot of guitar players pick. They use the up pick to escape the strings, and then they only go to another string when they end with an upstroke, and then the next string starts on the down. If you organize your scales and your licks with this in mind, people, that's why when I learned a bunch of Al Di Meola solos, I was having a hard time with getting the picking down. But then once I figured out the organization of the left-hand notes that he does, he orchestrates and organizes the notes on the left hand so that every time he wants to go to another string, he always ends with an upstroke above the strings. Okay? So that is the big secret with crossing strings. We're going to see that with example 4 in my packet. All right. And I'll give you a few others if you want to work on some other things too. But that's the secret with getting the pick angle happening. All right. Now, some guitar players like that, probably more often. John McLaughlin, though, likes to do his pick escapes on a downstroke. So he makes sure the last note on a string is a downstroke, and then the first note on another string is always an upstroke. That way you keep the right hand just toggling back and forth. Plus, it's when you think about this, people, if you think that, oh, the economy picking is easier, okay, the thing when you're alternate picking real fast is you're just swinging the pick back and forth real quick. Imagine if you had to do like a double down real quick while you're doing this. That even though you think it's easier to go to do that little economy picking sweep, it actually breaks up the momentum of the lick. Because your pick, when you get it going real quick. So when I do licks like this, watch my picking is just 100% alternate picking. Okay, it's 100% alternate picking. And I organize my notes so that when I cross to the next string, down, up, down, I always end with a down. Next string always starts with an up. And then when I'm ready to go to the next string, I end with a down. See, the right hand it's like just going like this. You know, if you get fast at tremolo picking, imagine doing tremolo picking and then once in a while you do like a double down. That's the same thing as trying to play that example 3 bar 1 with the economy picking, going from that 13 on the second string to the 10 on the first. Okay? You're never going to get that lick as fast as this if you economy pick it. All right? Well, I don't want to say never because there'll be someone to prove me wrong, but you know, most of us are not going to be able to get it at that by doing economy picking. All right, Dave's got a good question. Hey, hi, Theme. I see your comment there. Dave's saying, do you think about pick escape when you play something more melodic and not repetitive? Well, when I'm playing slowly, Dave, and just improvising and making up stuff, on the fly, like when I do solos with the band, most of the time I just improvise it. I'm not thinking that, but of course, when I'm going to play a specific lick, I've got a bunch of licks that I've already wrote in my mind that I can throw out when I'm improvising that are using the pick escape. And it definitely helps. And the more you work with it, the more it's going to settle in and become easy to improvise with that same thing too. Okay. So this works for me really good to alternate pick and then working with the pick escape. All right. So find one that works, just like example 1 and 2. Some folks have the inside picking is easier to play than the outside picking for that example. Okay. So some people might feel that to pick with an upward pick escape and then starting the next string with a down, that's actually a little more popular with most guitar players because most guitar players kind of pick like this. Okay. But I kind of angle my pick in a little different angle slightly. That's the pick escape I'm talking about. Okay. So if you look at example 3, the very first bar is that. Okay. The next lick, the G, it's the same exact picking sequence. I got 3 notes on the second string. And then what is that? 6 on the first. Okay, it's the exact same thing, but I'm just moving everything down 1 note diatonically. Then for the F, same thing. So the picking is identical. That's why I only wrote the picking out for the bar 1, and then bar 2, 3, and 4 don't have any picking. If you look above the G chord symbol in bar 2 of that example, it says simile picking. That means to do the same picking. All right. So just going to have to spend time with it, people, and figure out what works for you. Okay. So a lick like that. Okay. Just work with the picking on it. Let me come back to that little box I just did, the one where we're showing the George Benson type of picking. Okay. For me, I feel better angling my pick this way and actually starting with an up. It's a lot easier for me to pick that fast. Okay, and I've got a pretty clean sound on there, people. There's hardly any overdrive on at all because you can't play it cleanly. In fact, a lot of times I'll practice on my acoustic doing this stuff or my nylon string classical because I'm doing all that. I like doing the Spanish style playing too. In the Spanish style guitar, you're picking almost everything. So you really got to have that right hand together. So want to get the hang of that. See, I couldn't pick that lick as fast if I did this picking. I feel better with the up. That's just over the years of practicing and playing, my hand feels better to do with an up. Okay, so there you go, David. Now, that example 3, everybody, I just kind of went through all that. Check this out, too. A little bit of theory for you. The first lick, it's all in A minor, all 4 of these, okay? The first lick is, I put an A minor chord over it. Well, why does that lick sound good for the A minor? Well, the very first note of the lick is A, 10th fret, 2nd string, okay? And then look at the last note of the lick. 12th fret of 1st string, that's E. That's the 5th degree of the A. So I'm playing I'm starting on the root of the chord and I'm ending on the fifth of the chord. I'm highlighting chord tones. For the G chord, the root of G is G and the fifth of G is the D note. Watch, starts with the G note, 8th fret, 2nd string, ends 10th fret on the 1st string. There's your D. Okay, the F chord, the root of F is F. The fifth of F chord is the power chord, right? Is C. Okay, so I'm starting on F and I end on C. And I'm keeping all the notes within the framework of A minor. How do you know what the A minor scale is? Well, there's 5 patterns. Learn your cage system organization or learn your 3 notes per string for A minor. And you're going to see that all these notes are in A minor. The E7 chord, well, the root of E7 is E, and the fifth of E is, excuse me, is a B note. Okay, so the lick starts with E and ends with the B. Now, if anyone's paying attention here, you're going to wonder, wait a sec, Dave, that 7th fret 2nd string and 9th fret 2nd string, those aren't in the scale A minor. You're right. But oftentimes on a progression like that, oftentimes the player will play not A minor over the E chord or the E7, but A harmonic minor, or they might even play A melodic minor. Okay, so A harmonic minor is the natural minor scale with a raised 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the flat 7 that's in the normal A minor scale. Like Stairway to Heaven solo is A minor, natural minor. Okay, so Jimmy's playing the G note, but harmonic minor raises that G, the 7th degree, up to a major 7, a G sharp. And in melodic minor, in addition to raising the G to G sharp, or the 7 to a major 7, it also raises the flat 6, which is F in the key of A minor. It raises it to an F sharp. Makes it a major 6. So the notes for A melodic minor are A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Or numerically, it's 1, 2, flat 3rd, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1. So over the E7, I'm playing actually A melodic minor. There's your F sharp, 7th fret, 2nd string. G sharp, 9th fret, 2nd string. And then the top string is just A, B, C. And in my fingering on that, people, some of my students say that the first string's hard for them to stretch to play it with the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd finger. But just for the sake of speed, I'm doing the 2nd string with frets 5, 7, 9, fingers 1, 2, and 4. Then the 1st string, we just keep those fingers the same. See how the 3rd finger just feels like it fits right over the 8th fret without changing finger positions, rather than doing this. You could do that, but to me, that's going to slow me down if I have to shift from this to this, rather than this to this. All right. This is a lot less motion. See, my 1st, 2nd fingers stay the same. And then my 3rd, just even on the 2nd string, the 3rd's just hanging out over the 8th fret, not doing anything. If I'm playing it pretty quick, it's way easier. Like the picking techniques, the faster you go, the less movement you got to do. So you got to refine your picking to just do tiny downs and ups. And your left hand, same thing. You don't want your fingers flying all. Okay, you're never going to get quick doing that. You got to get really close to that fretboard. Don't actually touch the strings of the fretboard, but just float over it like that. See how my fingers are just right above, like maybe a centimeter or 2 above, or a 1/4 of an inch, maybe above the strings. Now here's a bonus real quick, and then we're going to get on to example 4, which crosses 4 strings. Okay, the bonus is play example 3 an octave lower on strings 4 and 3. It's the same geometry, all right? We're just going to bounce everything. It's the same notes, same finger shape, same picking. we're just going to bounce it. Instead of being on the 10, 12, 13, we're going to be on 7, 9, 10 on string 4 and 3. See how it looks the same? It's the same notes. And use the same pick technique. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. See how the second one for G is 2 whole steps on both strings? You're going to be the same shape on strings 4 and 2, 4 and 3. Okay? And then the F chord. And then the E7. Might be a bit of a stretch back here. But, you know, something to work on, you know, getting those finger stretches. Okay, so let's try example 4, and this will be our last thing for today. Okay, this is over the same chords, A minor, G, F, E7, just like before. Okay, but now we're going to cross, well, on the example 3, we went higher, we ascended. Example 4 here, though, we're actually going to descend, play a totally different lick, but we're going to descend the A minor scale. Okay, so slowly this lick sounds like this. That's the first 2 bars of example 4. That's the bottom of page 1. Then instead of a couple things neat here, folks. The example 3, the lick went higher, but then the next lick we moved down. For example 4, we're going to play the lick descending, but then we go to G, we're not going to descend the fretboard, we're going to ascend. We're going to go counterpoint, okay? So we're going to go A minor, G, F, E7. Okay, so check this out slowly. Oh, and also we were 16th notes, 4 notes per beat in example 3. Example 4, what are we playing there? 3 notes per beat, triplets. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can kind of vibrato that last note if you like. Okay, and then look at the picking. On the first string, we're going 5, 7, 8, 7, 5. Start with a down. Down, up, down, up, down. So I'm above the plane of the strings. Then I'm going to start the second string with an upstroke. 8th fret, and then 5, 6, 8, 6, 5. Ends with a down. Then I go to the third string. Go 7 with an upstroke, and then 4 with a downstroke. 5, 7, 5, 4 ends with a down. And then string 4 goes upstroke on the 6th fret. That's our harmonic minor note, the G sharp, right? Doesn't that sound a little more wicked to play that G sharp there? It's a leading tone. When you hear that G sharp, all you want to hear next is that A, right? But rather than playing the G. Doesn't sound bad. But that G sounds a little thumpy to me, a little clumpy. It doesn't pull my ear to the A as strong as that G sharp. Okay, and then that's the picking for that. Notice that the last pick stroke, and I illustrated them. I put pick strokes over the 2 bars of A minor. Each string starts, we start with a down. And then when I'm done with that string, I make sure I organize the notes so that the last note is a down, and then the first note on the second string is an up. And with a down, first note on the next string, up, and then down. Okay? That's works for me on that picking. And it will work for you too if you practice it. Okay? The G is the same thing. Hey, Rudy, we're almost done, buddy. Okay, the G, we're moving up to the 7th fret, and we're doing fret 7, 8, 10, 8, 7, starting. It's the same picking. I didn't put pick strokes over the last 6 bars because it's the same exact picking as the first 2 bars, okay? So we're starting with a down, and then the first note on every next string would be an up. Okay, now on that one, we're just sticking 100% in the A minor scale. Okay, the other alternative, people, if you don't want to pick it with that angle like that, if you started with an upstroke and you're picking it like more popular way, like George Benson and Al Di Meola, I think, does this too. All right, you would start with an upstroke, and just every pick stroke is the opposite of what I just talked about. See, that way you end with an upstroke. Next string starts with a down, ends with an up, and then a down up. I forgot to start with an up. All right, so I'm doing this backwards to what I'm intuitive to. All right, that's, some people like that better too. I've always gotten comfortable with the other way. So that, for me, that's the easier way. You don't really need to learn how to do both, but I would highly encourage everybody to work with both, find out what works good for you, because, you know, until you really push them hard, and you got to stick with it. Don't just try it for 5 minutes and go, oh, I give up, forget it. But I spent a lot of time changing my picking technique and approach over the years. I used to pick like this, you know, from back in the day. But after a while, that I felt like I couldn't get faster with my picking. Then I decided, you know, when I started doing the Spanish guitar work, it's like they're really, those guys that pick and Spanish guitar playing are amazing. So to get that technique, I just really sat down and worked on which one of these two worked better for me, to pick escape on a downstroke or pick escape on an upstroke. And for me, and like John McLaughlin, and then there's a couple of the Spanish guitar players that play with picks that I listen to on Spotify, and I've heard some interviews with them. And one of the guys picks extremely fast and clean. He talked about his pick escape, and he said he does it. He always escapes on a downstroke and then hits the next string with an up, which is exactly what I do. It's not as common as everyone else, but you know, him and John McLaughlin are two players that admittedly do that. So I feel like I'm on the right track by doing that. Hey, Second Chance Band's here. All right, good to see you, Marianne. Cool. Happy holidays to you too, and everybody else. Oh, and by the way, people, next Wednesday, I'm taking off. So we're not going to have a lesson next Wednesday. Just going to take a little breaky break for the holidays. Hopefully everyone else will be doing the same. And we will resume on January, the first Wednesday in January, which I think is the 3rd. Hang on. Let me just double check so I'm not telling you the wrong thing. Boom. Yeah, January 3rd, we'll resume. And we're going to be working on some other lead guitar series techniques. We're going to be working on double stops for a few weeks. I'm pretty sure it's double stops. Yep, double stops. We're going to spend 2 weeks on that. In the near future, we're also going to be doing hybrid picking. We're going to be doing chicken picking. We're going to be doing sweep picking. I think I just mentioned that. And then we're also going to work on tapping, two-hand tapping stuff. Okay, so that's all coming up in the next bunch of weeks in the lead guitar series. All right, David's saying, I'm finding it better to have the pick above the lick tilted up. No idea why. Looking forward to discussing further. Yeah, Dave, I'll see you at your lesson tomorrow. We can talk about that. But you want to, everybody, you know, if you really want to get your picking chops together, you need to start focusing on that, pay attention to that, and then just develop some exercises. A lot of these things I'm showing you are like example 3 and 4, just things I made up that I use parts of those when I solo in the Spanish guitar style. When we jam over A minor GFE, those are some of the licks I throw in there because it's what I worked out. It's easy to do if you got the picking stuff down. So spend some time and figure out which ones work good for you and work it. Work with a metronome, do them slow, try to do them fast, do little bits at a time. You know, just work with going from one string and then hitting the first note on the next. Because if you can't get to that next string without sounding klutzy, then you're not ready to do the rest of the lick. Try to just get comfortable. And then add the rest of the lick. Get to that third string. Then go to the fourth string. Oops. Okay. All right. And Richard's saying off topic, any experience or comments on putting locking tuners on a Gibson LP standard, Les Paul standard? Yeah, I don't have those. I just got the usual, the ones that come on it. That might be cool. I don't have any experience with it though, Richard. But hopefully, if you put them on, hopefully you get the right ones that fit so you don't have to re-drill holes. If you're experienced with that and you got the right tools, then I'm sure it's pretty easy to do. If not, take it to a luthier that you trust to install those for you. But that would be a good idea. But also too, Richard, what I've noticed on the Les Pauls is because the D and the G string have the steepest angles. See how they fan out? Those two strings tend to get stuck in the nut on my Les Pauls and even my 335 because they're all the same design up here. And what I do to eliminate that, well, I think D'Addario makes something called nut lube, and it's like a little oil, and you just put a few drops of it or one drop in the little crack where the string sits, in the nut, and I put it in there before I put the new string in. Then I put the string in, and then it lubes it up. Another thing I do too, if I don't have that or have the time to change strings, sometimes what I'll do is if the string's getting stuck too much, I'll take a graphite lead pencil and I'll pull the string, I'll loosen it up, pull it out of that slot, and I'll draw with the pencil. I'll get a bunch of pencil lead in there, and that acts as like a poor man's lubrication, temporary to lube it up for a little while. And then it slides through a little bit easier, and then I tune it back up. But those are two things that help me. So even if you had the lock tuners back installed, see, all of that is behind the issue because this is where my strings tend to go out of tune, is when they get stuck in that little nut. So that's my experience, Richard. There you go. Dennis, appreciate it. Happy holidays to you too. And take care. We'll see you in 2 weeks. All right. So everybody, with example 4, just take your time working with it. All right. And then with a metronome, just for kicks and giggles, everyone, triplets at 130. I have the lick down to play twice, but I'm just going to play it once for you. Let's try 150. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, let's go to 170. I usually don't recommend going up in 20 beat increments, but I'm just trying to save time. Usually when I practice something, I'm working on a lick that I can't do clean. I'll start at whatever tempo, 80, 70, and then I'll go 5 or 10 beats faster. I usually don't go 70 to 100, but it's good to go like 5 or 10 beats increments like that. Second Chance Band saying I was working with example 4 today. Great with the acoustic. Exactly. In fact, I do that a lot when I'm soloing, like I said, Marianne, in the Spanish guitar realm. That chord progression is very common, and I'll do that lick over those chords. Here's example 4, 170. 1, 2, ready, go. About 180, 3, 4. Let's try one more at 190. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the idea. I mean, try to push it at the 200, but I think we get the idea there. So I'm going to wrap it up, everybody. We're about at the end here. Appreciate everybody's comments and interplay. Okay, so not everything's about picking fast either. So that's why we're going to work on other things like double stops. That's another lead guitar technique that's not about picking fast, but we'll talk about that in 2 weeks. No lesson next week. I'll see everybody on January 3rd. Have a safe, happy holiday, everyone, at holidays, and then have a safe new year. All right. So Richard, good one. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Alex. Thank you. Zane. Thank you, sir. Cool. Ollie, thank you very much. We'll see you soon too, Ollie. Have a good one. And then King 50. All right. Cool, Bill. Have a good one. Zane. All right. Cool. All right, everyone, be good. We'll see you in a few weeks, 2 weeks, and moving on to some double stops. All right, take care. Peace. Keep practicing. Don't give up. All right. See you, everyone. Nice. Thanks, Kenneth. And Craig, thank you. All right, bye.